Have you ever been ghosted by someone you cared about deeply? One moment, the connection feels alive, meaningful, even special. Then, out of nowhere, the communication stops. No warning, no explanation, just silence. And you're left with questions, feelings of confusion, maybe even hurt. It's natural to wonder, what happened? Did I say something wrong? Did I mean so little to them? If you're here, you're likely searching for answers. And that's okay. Ghosting can be painful, especially when it comes from someone you love. But let's pause for a moment. What if their silence isn't about dismissing you? What if it's not about rejection or a lack of care? What if their ghosting is less about you and more about them? Sometimes people ghost because they feel overwhelmed. They may not know how to express what they're feeling. It's not necessarily about cruelty or manipulation. Often, it's about their own struggles. But here's the thing, they may not even realize how deeply their silence affects you. In that silence, they're hoping you'll do one thing, fill in the gaps. They're counting on you to chase, to wonder, to seek closure, not out of malice, but because it's easier for them to avoid than to confront. And when you do, it keeps the focus on their needs instead of your own healing. But what if, instead of chasing them, you chose a different response? One that still holds love and understanding, but also protects your own peace. What if, instead of seeking answers they may not be ready or able to give, you decided to find closure within yourself? This is where Stoicism offers wisdom. Stoicism isn't about shutting off your feelings or pretending you don't care. It's about mastering how you respond when life throws uncertainty your way. It teaches us to love deeply while still remaining grounded in our own inner strength. When someone ghosts you, the instinct is often to reach out, to seek clarity. But sometimes, the most loving thing you can do for them and for yourself is to let go. Not letting go of the care you feel for them, but letting go of the need for immediate answers or validation. Remember, silence doesn't have to be the end of the story. It can be a pause, a moment for reflection, for you and for them. And if they do care, if they're struggling with their own reasons for ghosting, the space you allow may give them the clarity to return when they're ready. But even if they don't, you'll have found your own peace. You'll have reminded yourself that your worth isn't tied to someone else's ability or inability to communicate. It's tied to the love you give, the boundaries you honor, and the strength you show in moments of uncertainty. So, what do they hope you'll do? They hope you'll wait, chase, or fill the silence for them. But what if you choose to hold space instead? Space for love, for understanding, and most importantly, for yourself. Say it with me. I love myself too. Drop it in the comments. Declare it boldly, not for anyone else, but for yourself. Every time you type those words, you're choosing to honor the love you carry within. Love that's not just for others, but for yourself too. This simple affirmation is a reminder that your care, your kindness, and your compassion don't have to come at the expense of your own peace. It's about balance, about recognizing that loving others doesn't mean neglecting yourself. When you write, "I love myself too," you're making a statement that you deserve the same love and grace you give so freely to the world. It's not selfish, it's essential, because when you love yourself, you're better able to love others authentically, without losing pieces of who you are. So, go ahead, drop it in the comments, reflect on it, let it sink in. Every word is a step toward reclaiming your worth and reminding yourself that you are just as deserving of love as anyone else. And most importantly, live it. Carry it with you in moments of doubt, when the silence feels heavy or the questions linger. Let it be your light. I love myself too. Because love doesn't disappear when someone ghosts you. And healing doesn't mean closing your heart. It means keeping it open, but only for what nurtures your soul. This isn't about winning or losing. It's about finding balance between love for others and love for yourself. Number 1. The expected reaction. When someone ghosts you, the silence doesn't just hang in the air. It seeps into your thoughts, filling every quiet moment with questions. You replay conversations in your mind, searching for clues, trying to pinpoint the exact moment things changed. You wonder, what did I say wrong? Was I not enough? Why would they just disappear like that? This is exactly what they hope will happen. Ghosting creates a vacuum, and human nature abhors a vacuum. When faced with silence, our minds instinctively rush to fill the void, often with self-doubt, overthinking, and even a desperate need for closure. And that's the reaction they're counting on. Not always maliciously, but because it's predictable. They know that when they disappear without explanation, you're left carrying the weight of their silence. What they hope you'll do next is just as predictable. They expect you to chase them. They expect you to reach out with a message. Hey, are you okay? Or maybe even something raw and vulnerable like, did I do something wrong? They expect you to beg for answers, to piece together their absence as if it's a puzzle you're responsible for solving. This chase, this desire for closure, keeps them relevant in your life. Even if they're not responding, even if they have no intention of coming back, the fact that you're still thinking about them gives them a kind of emotional presence in your life. Your reaction, your overthinking, your searching for answers, it keeps them in control, even in their absence. But chasing isn't the only reaction they're hoping for. Maybe you don't send that message. Maybe you resist the urge to reach out. But instead of releasing their silence, you start internalizing it. You begin to doubt yourself. You ask questions like, was I too much? Was I not enough? Why didn't I see this coming? This is the second layer of the reaction they're counting on: self-doubt. Ghosting often leaves you with unanswered questions, and those questions can quickly turn into insecurities. You start picking apart your own actions, your own worth, all because someone chose to avoid the discomfort of communication. And then there's the third reaction they hope for: waiting. They want you to stay stuck, emotionally tied to their absence, hoping for their return. They hope you'll leave the door open, just in case they decide to come back. Maybe you check your phone a little more often, waiting for the notification that says they've finally reached out. Maybe you pause your own healing because a part of you is still holding on to the idea that they might explain themselves someday. Waiting is the most subtle reaction they hope for, but it's also the most powerful. Because while you're waiting, they're still in control. While you're waiting, they're still a presence in your life, even if they're not physically there. And the longer you wait, the harder it becomes to move forward. Here's the thing, none of this is about you. Ghosting isn't a reflection of your worth or your actions. It's a reflection of their inability or unwillingness to face their own emotions. But the silence they leave behind is designed to make you feel otherwise. It's designed to make you fill the void with thoughts of them, keeping you stuck in a loop of overthinking, self-doubt, and waiting. This reaction isn't always intentional on their part. Sometimes people ghost because they don't know how to communicate their feelings. Maybe they're overwhelmed, scared, or unsure of how to handle the connection they've built with you. But Intentional or not, the effect is the same. Their silence keeps you tethered to them. And that's where the power dynamic comes in. As long as you're chasing them, doubting yourself, or waiting for their return, they're in control. Even if they've moved on, even if they're not thinking about you at all, your reaction keeps them at the center of your emotional world. And that's what they expect. But here's what they don't expect. They don't expect you to break free. They don't expect you to stop chasing, to let go of the self-doubt, or to move forward without needing their closure. They don't expect you to see their silence for what it is, a reflection of their own struggles, not a measure of your worth. This is where you can change the story. Their silence is not a command for you to overthink, doubt, or wait. It's a blank space, a space you get to fill with your own strength, your own peace, your own healing. So, before you send that message, before you let their silence creep into your self-worth, ask yourself, am I reacting the way they hope I will? Or am I choosing something different? Because here's the truth they don't want you to realize. Their silence only has power if you give it power. And when you choose not to react the way they expect, you're taking that power back. Say it with me. I love myself too. Drop it in the comments. Declare it. Live it. Because your worth isn't found in their presence or their absence. It's found in you. And that's something no silence can take away. Number 2. The trap of overthinking. When someone ghosts you, the silence can feel unbearable. It's like a vacuum, sucking in your thoughts and leaving behind an endless echo of questions. What happened? What did I do wrong? Why did they leave? Was I too much or not enough? These questions don't just arrive. They linger, looping endlessly in your mind, refusing to let go. This is the trap of overthinking, and it's one of the most common reactions to being ghosted. Silence demands interpretation, and your brain, in its relentless desire for answers, rushes to fill the void. It replays conversations, analyzes words, and searches for signs you might have missed. But here's the thing. This mental spiral rarely leads to clarity. Instead, it leads to self-doubt, exhaustion, and a deeper sense of confusion. Overthinking is insidious because it feels like progress. You tell yourself, if I just think about it long enough, I'll figure out what went wrong. But in reality, overthinking is a treadmill. You're running hard, but going nowhere. The more you analyze their silence, the more tangled your thoughts become, and the further you drift from peace. Why do we overthink when we're ghosted? Because ghosting creates uncertainty. It leaves a story unfinished, and our minds struggle with unresolved endings. We crave closure, a sense of understanding that lets us move forward. But ghosting denies us that. Instead of a clear explanation, we're left with an open-ended silence, and our minds try to bridge the gap. Here's the danger. Overthinking doesn't just keep you stuck in the past, it also distorts your perception of yourself. When you replay their silence over and over, you start to internalize it. You tell yourself, it must be something I did. You begin to believe that their inability to communicate is somehow your fault, that their decision to ghost reflects a flaw in you. But let me make this clear. Their silence is not about you. It's not a judgment of your worth or a reflection of your value. Ghosting is a choice they made, and it's often rooted in their own struggles, fears, or immaturity. You're not responsible for the way they chose to exit your life. Despite knowing this logically, overthinking can still pull you in. It thrives on what-ifs and hypothetical scenarios. What if they're waiting for me to reach out? What if they're going through something and I'm not there for them? What if I'm the one who ruined this connection? These thoughts keep you tied to their absence, as if solving the mystery of their silence will somehow set you free. But here's the truth. The answers you're searching for may never come, and even if they do, they may not give you the closure you're hoping for. The trap of overthinking is that it tricks you into believing you can control the uncontrollable. You can't control why they ghosted you, and you can't force them to give you the answers you seek. What you can control is how you respond to their silence, and that starts by breaking free from the cycle of overthinking. So, how do you escape this trap? By shifting your focus inward. Instead of obsessing over their actions, turn your attention to your own healing. Ask yourself, why am I allowing their silence to dictate my thoughts? What can I do right now to bring myself peace? How can I grow from this experience regardless of their choices? These questions are empowering because they center the conversation back on you, where it belongs. They remind you that your value isn't tied to someone else's ability to communicate. Your worth is inherent, unshaken by their silence. Overthinking also loses its grip when you replace it with intentional action. Instead of replaying the past, focus on the present. Engage in activities that ground you: journaling, meditation, exercise, or spending time with loved ones. Each time your mind drifts back to their silence, gently redirect it to something that nurtures your peace. It's also helpful to set boundaries with your own thoughts. When you catch yourself spiraling into overthinking, acknowledge the thought, but don't engage with it. Remind yourself, this is not my responsibility to fix. Their silence is not my burden to carry. Most importantly, practice self-compassion. It's easy to be hard on yourself when someone ghosts you, but remember that their decision reflects their journey, not your worth. Be kind to yourself as you navigate the emotions that come with ghosting. Remind yourself that healing takes time and that you deserve grace in this process. Say it with me. I release the overthinking. Drop it in the comments. Declare it. Live it. Because every time you choose peace over overthinking, you're reclaiming your power. You're reminding yourself that your value isn't up for debate and that no one's silence can diminish your worth. The trap of overthinking is powerful, but so are you. And when you break free from its grip, you'll find that the answers you were searching for weren't in their silence. They were in your strength all along. Number 3. The waiting game. When someone ghosts you, the silence doesn't just leave a void. It creates a sense of unfinished business. It feels like a conversation paused mid-sentence, a story missing its ending. And so, you wait. You wait for the notification that says they finally responded. You wait for their explanation, their apology, their return. Deep down, you think, maybe tomorrow I'll hear from them. Maybe next week. Maybe someday. But here's the truth. Waiting can be one of the most subtle yet powerful traps of ghosting. It ties you to their absence, anchoring you to the hope that they'll come back. And while you wait, your life quietly stalls. Why do we wait? Because waiting feels safer than moving on. Waiting gives you the illusion of control. It lets you believe that if you're just patient enough, if you just hold on a little longer, things might go back to the way they were. And that hope? It's comforting. It keeps you from confronting the possibility that they might never return, or that even if they do, they won't bring the closure you're seeking. But let's pause for a moment. What is waiting really costing you? When you wait for someone who has chosen to disappear, you put your own life on hold. Your emotional energy becomes focused on their potential return rather than your own healing. You find yourself checking your phone more often, replaying old memories, and holding on to threads of a connection that may never be tied back together. And while you're doing this, the world keeps moving forward, but you're not. Here's what makes waiting so dangerous. It feels passive, but it's not. Waiting is an active choice. Every day you spend waiting for their message is a day you're choosing to stay in the emotional limbo they left you in. Every time you delay your own healing because you're holding space for their return, you're giving them power over your happiness. And the longer you wait, the harder it becomes to let go. What they hope you'll do is exactly this. Whether consciously or unconsciously, they hope you'll stay emotionally tied to their absence. They hope you'll wait because waiting keeps them relevant. Even in their silence, they remain the center of your thoughts, your emotions, your time. And as long as you're waiting, you're not moving forward. But here's what they don't expect. They don't expect you to stop waiting. They don't expect you to realize that you deserve more than the silence they've given you. They don't expect you to take back the time and energy you've been investing in their potential return and redirect it toward yourself. So, how do you break free from the waiting game? First, you have to acknowledge that waiting doesn't guarantee their return or the closure you're hoping for. Closure doesn't come from them explaining their actions. Closure comes from you deciding that you don't need their explanation to move forward. It comes from you choosing to value your peace more than their potential return. Next, shift your focus from waiting to living. Instead of holding space for them, fill that space with things that nurture you. Invest in your passions. Spend time with people who value you, and create new memories that have nothing to do with their absence. Every moment you spend building your own life is a moment you reclaim from the waiting game. It's also important to set boundaries, not just with them, but with yourself. When you catch yourself checking your phone or wondering if they'll come back, remind yourself, I am not waiting for someone who chose to leave. Write it down if you need to. Repeat it to yourself until it becomes a truth you live by. And most importantly, replace waiting with loving yourself. The energy you've been using to hold on to them. Redirect it inward. Treat yourself with the same care and attention you were willing to give them. Remind yourself daily that your worth isn't tied to their presence or their absence. Say it with me. I let go of waiting. Drop it in the comments. Declare it. Live it. Every time you say those words, you're choosing freedom. You're reminding yourself that you don't need to wait for someone to validate your worth or your feelings. Here's the reality. If they wanted to be in your life, they would be. If they valued your connection, they wouldn't leave you in silence. And if they do decide to return someday, it should never be on the condition that you've been waiting for them. You deserve someone who chooses you without hesitation, not someone who expects you to put your life on hold. The waiting game is a trap, but you don't have to stay in it. You can let go, not because you've stopped caring, but because you care about yourself enough to move forward. You can choose peace over uncertainty, growth over stagnation, and love for yourself, over waiting for someone who isn't here. So let them sit in their silence. While they're stuck in their absence, you're stepping into your future. And that future, it's far too beautiful to keep waiting for someone who doesn't see it. Number 4, reclaiming your power. Someone ghosts you, it can feel like they've taken something from you, your sense of security, your confidence, maybe even your ability to trust. The sudden silence leaves a void, and it's easy to feel powerless in its wake. But here's the truth. The power was never theirs to take. It's yours to reclaim. Ghosting often creates an illusion of control. By disappearing without explanation, they leave you guessing, overthinking, and searching for answers. It can feel like they hold the upper hand, as if their silence defines the narrative. But in reality, the power dynamic only exists if you let it. The moment you decide to stop reacting the way they expect, the moment you choose to shift the focus back to yourself, that's when you take back control. Reclaiming your power starts with a simple but profound realization. Their silence is not about you. It's about them. Ghosting is often a reflection of their inability to confront their feelings, their discomfort with communication, or their own unresolved issues. It's not a verdict on your worth, your value, or your actions. The narrative you create around their silence is entirely within your control. Step 1. Detach from their actions. The first step to reclaiming your power is detaching from their choices. This doesn't mean you stop caring about them or pretend the situation didn't hurt. It means recognizing that their actions are theirs alone. They are not a mirror of your value. Detach by reframing their silence as a choice they made for themselves, not against you. This shift in perspective frees you from taking their actions personally and allows you to focus on what truly matters: how you respond. Step 2. Embrace emotional ownership. Ghosting often stirs up intense emotions: anger, sadness, confusion. These feelings are valid, but they don't have to control you. Reclaiming your power means taking ownership of your emotions and not letting their silence dictate your emotional state. Ask yourself, what am I feeling right now, and why? Acknowledge the hurt or frustration, but don't dwell on it. Instead, channel those emotions into something constructive. Journal your thoughts, talk to a trusted friend, or engage in activities that ground you. Emotional ownership doesn't mean suppressing your feelings. It means processing them in a way that empowers you. Step 3. Stop waiting for closure. Closure is one of the most powerful things we seek after being ghosted. But waiting for closure from someone else keeps you tied to their timeline, their readiness or lack thereof to provide answers. Reclaiming your power means creating your own closure. You don't need their explanation to move forward. Closure comes from accepting that you may never know the why and choosing to move on anyway. It's an act of self-love to say, I don't need their validation to heal. I can create peace within myself. Step 4. Redirect your focus. When someone ghosts you, it's easy to let their absence consume your thoughts. But reclaiming your power means redirecting that energy toward yourself. Instead of asking, why did they ghost me? Ask, what can I do to strengthen myself? Shift your focus to personal growth. Set goals that excite you. Revisit hobbies you've neglected, or explore new passions. The time and energy you once spent thinking about them can now be used to build a life that fulfills you. By investing in yourself, you're proving that their presence or absence does not define your happiness. Step 5. Set boundaries with your thoughts. Reclaiming your power also means setting boundaries, not just with them, but with yourself. When thoughts about their silence creep in, acknowledge them without engaging. Remind yourself, their silence is not my responsibility. Create mental boundaries that protect your peace. If you catch yourself spiraling into overthinking, take a moment to ground yourself. Breathe deeply, focus on the present moment, and remind yourself of your worth. Step 6. Affirm your worth. Affirmations are a powerful tool in reclaiming your power. They remind you of your inherent value, independent of anyone else's actions. Say it with me. I am enough. Drop it in the comments. Declare it boldly. Because reclaiming your power begins with recognizing that your worth is not up for debate. Each time you affirm your worth, you're taking a step closer to emotional freedom. You're telling yourself and the world that you deserve love, respect, and clarity, even if someone else couldn't provide it. Step 7. Transform the pain into strength. Ghosting can be painful, but it's also an opportunity to grow. Every time you choose to respond with grace and resilience, you're building emotional strength. Every time you choose yourself over the need for validation, you're proving your power. Pain is a teacher, and while ghosting may hurt, it also shows you where your boundaries lie, what you're willing to accept, and what you need to thrive. Use this experience to refine your sense of self and strengthen your resolve. Reclaiming your power doesn't happen overnight. It's a journey, a series of small but intentional choices to prioritize yourself, even in the face of someone else's silence. Their actions do not define you. Your response does. Say it again. I am enough. Drop it in the comments. Write it, feel it, believe it. Because when you reclaim your power, you're not just moving on, you're rising above. And the life you're building, the peace you're creating, and the strength you're cultivating. That's a power no one can ever take away. Number 5. Actionable steps for moving forward. Someone ghosts you, it's easy to feel stuck, caught in a web of unanswered questions, lingering emotions, and the weight of their silence. But here's the truth. You don't have to stay there. Moving forward isn't just possible. It's empowering. It's a chance to reclaim your peace, your energy, and your sense of self. Let's explore how you can take actionable steps to break free and move forward with strength and grace. The first step in moving forward is to accept what has happened. This doesn't mean you condone their choice to ghost you or dismiss the hurt it caused. It means acknowledging the truth. They have chosen silence, and you can't control that. Acceptance doesn't come easily. Your mind may want to fight it, to hold on to hope or demand answers. But resisting reality only prolongs the pain. Tell yourself, I may not understand their reasons, but I accept that this is where we are. This acceptance isn't a sign of weakness. It's a foundation for strength. It allows you to stop waiting for their closure and start creating your own. Being ghosted can feel deeply personal, but it's not a reflection of your worth. Often, ghosting is about the other person's inability to handle their emotions, fears, or circumstances. It's about them, not you. Reframe the story in your mind. Their silence doesn't define me. It's a reflection of their choices, not my value. Shifting this perspective helps you release self-blame and see the situation for what it truly is. Their decision, not your failure. When someone ghosts you, it's easy to let their absence take up space in your thoughts. But moving forward means setting boundaries, not just with them, but with yourself. Decide how much mental energy you're willing to give to this situation. Each time you catch yourself spiraling into overthinking or longing for closure, pause and redirect your focus. Tell yourself, their silence no longer deserves my attention. Consider journaling as a way to set these boundaries. Write down your feelings, process your emotions, and then close the journal, literally and symbolically leaving those thoughts on the page. Ghosting can leave emotional wounds, and healing those wounds requires care and intention. Make self-care a priority during this time. Spend time in meditation, focusing on your breath and letting go of intrusive thoughts. Exercise releases endorphins that improve mood and reduce stress. Surround yourself with people who uplift and support you. Share your feelings with trusted friends or family members. Prioritize activities that make you feel alive and happy, whether it's painting, reading, cooking, or walking in nature. Self-care isn't just about distraction, it's about nurturing the parts of yourself that feel hurt or neglected. Moving forward means looking ahead, not behind. Take this opportunity to envision the life you want to create for yourself. What goals do you want to achieve? What kind of relationships do you want to build? How can you focus on your personal growth? Write down your vision and take small steps each day to work toward it. When you're focused on building your future, their silence fades into the background. Your life becomes about your dreams, not their absence. Affirmations are a powerful tool for rewiring your mindset and reinforcing your worth. When doubt creeps in, repeat affirmations that ground you in strength and self-love. Say it with me now. I love myself too. Declare it with conviction and let it become your mantra. Every time you say these words, you're choosing to prioritize your own well-being. This affirmation isn't just a phrase, it's a promise to yourself that you are enough, just as you are. One of the most liberating steps you can take is to resist the urge to chase. Chasing closure, validation, or their attention only keeps you tethered to their silence. Instead, choose to let go. This doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you care enough about yourself to stop seeking answers that may never come. Let go with grace, release them with love, and remind yourself, I don't need their response to move forward. Healing is a journey, not a destination. Celebrate the small victories along the way. Celebrate the moment you went an entire day without overthinking their silence. Celebrate the first time you laughed without wondering if they'd notice. Celebrate the day you realized your life feels full, even without their presence. Each of these moments is proof of your resilience and strength. Moving forward after being ghosted isn't about forgetting the person or erasing the experience. It's about reclaiming your peace and building a life where their silence no longer holds power over you. Every step you take, no matter how small, is a declaration that you are worthy of love, respect, and clarity. Say it again. I love myself too. Drop it in the comments. Live it. Because your journey isn't defined by their absence, it's defined by your courage to move forward, stronger than ever. Number 6. Turning expectations upside down. When someone ghosts you, there's an unspoken expectation that you'll react a certain way. They anticipate your confusion, your overthinking, and your need for answers. They expect you to fill the silence they've created with your energy. By chasing them, doubting yourself, or waiting endlessly for their return. But what if you decided not to play along? What if, instead of reacting the way they expect, you turned their expectations completely upside down? Ghosting creates a power dynamic. The person who ghosts holds the silence, while you're left holding the emotional weight of their disappearance. They count on your natural human desire for closure to keep them relevant in your life. It's not necessarily malicious. It's often a byproduct of their inability to confront their own emotions. But regardless of intent, their silence is a test, not of your worth, but of your ability to reclaim your power. The expected reaction is predictable. First, they assume you'll reach out. They think you'll send that follow-up text, asking if everything is okay or wondering what went wrong. They believe you'll chase them, looking for clarity they're unwilling or unable to provide. Second, they expect you to internalize their silence, to question your value, and wonder what you could have done differently. And third, they assume you'll wait. Wait for their message, their explanation, or their return. But here's where you turn the tables. What they don't expect is for you to break this cycle entirely. They don't expect you to respond with quiet strength. They don't anticipate you choosing peace over chaos, or self-respect over validation. When you stop reacting the way they expect, the power dynamic shifts, and the silence they thought would trap you becomes your greatest tool for liberation. Turning their expectations upside down begins with one crucial realization. Their silence isn't about you. It's about their choices, their struggles, their fears. You are not responsible for their inability to communicate. You are not responsible for their decision to leave without explanation. And you are certainly not defined by their actions. This shift in perspective is the foundation of reclaiming your power. When you understand that their silence says more about them than it does about you, it becomes easier to let go of the need for answers. The next step is to refuse to chase. Let their silence be exactly what it is, a decision they made. Instead of filling the void with your energy, let it remain empty. This doesn't mean you stop caring or that you erase the connection you shared. It means you recognize that chasing someone who ghosted you only prolongs your pain and keeps you tethered to their absence. By choosing not to pursue closure from them, you're giving yourself permission to heal on your own terms. Turning their expectations upside down also means rejecting self-doubt. Ghosting often leaves a trail of questions. Was I too much? Was I not enough? But these questions are traps. They're born from the belief that their silence is a reflection of your worth, when in reality, it's a reflection of their choices. Instead of letting these doubts take root, replace them with affirmations of your value. Remind yourself, I am enough, I am whole, I am worthy. Perhaps the most unexpected move of all is to stop waiting. When you wait for their return or their explanation, you put your life on hold. You leave the door open for someone who chose to walk away. But what if, instead, you closed that door? Not out of anger, but out of self-respect. Closing the door doesn't mean you're shutting them out forever. It means you're prioritizing your peace and allowing yourself to move forward. If they return, it will be on your terms, not theirs. Here's the beauty of turning expectations upside down. It's not about playing games or seeking revenge. It's about reclaiming your narrative. They may have ghosted you, but they don't get to write the ending of your story. You do. By choosing self-love, self-respect, and growth, you're proving that their silence doesn't define you. It frees you to focus on what truly matters, your own well-being. When they thought you would chase, you chose to stay still. When they expected you to doubt yourself, you chose to affirm your worth. When they assumed you would wait, you decided to move forward. These choices are not just unexpected, they're transformative. They take the power out of their hands and place it firmly back in yours. Say it with me. I choose my peace. Drop it in the comments. Declare it, live it. Because when you turn their expectations upside down, you're not just responding differently, you're rewriting the rules. Their silence no longer controls you. Your choices do. And that is the kind of strength they never saw coming. So, my friends, you are not defined by the silence of someone who couldn't stay. You are not diminished by their choice to walk away without explanation. Their ghosting doesn't reflect your worth. It reflects their inability to face their own emotions. And while they may have hoped to leave you questioning, doubting, or chasing, you've chosen something far more powerful: freedom. This is your moment to rise, your moment to reclaim the energy you've given to their absence and redirect it toward yourself. You deserve clarity, love, and respect, not just from others, but from yourself. By turning inward, you're not just surviving their silence, you're thriving in spite of it. Say it with me: I love myself too. Drop it in the comments, write it, declare it, and let it be your mantra moving forward. Every time you affirm your love for yourself, you take another step toward healing, strength, and growth. If this message resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself. Hit the like button, share this with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more insights that empower and uplift. Remember, your story doesn't end here, it's only just beginning. And this time, it's your story to write.